Well, your next question is obvious and you already know the answer. Am I an optimist? Of course. I'm a different kind of optimist. I'm not a Pollyanna. Now, Pollyanna was a little girl, was the subject of a book written in the 1800s, could be 1800s or early 1900s, about a little girl named Pollyanna, and her father would bring up something negative, and then she was required to come back with something positive. And it was a game they played about bad, good. What's good about that? I remember having to play that with my mother. My mother would say it's a hot day, and I'd say good day for the beach, and it's warming the flowers. She said, ooh, it's raining, and I said, good for the flowers. And there was always something that she would say negative about the world. You know, doctors are only interested in the money, or attorneys are all crooked. And I would say, but some of them really are either defenders or prosecutors who are trying to uphold the law. So I was always trying to come back on her. But I'm a qualified, learned optimist. Optimism is the biology of hope. It's much more than the placebo effect. Optimism is very much like prayer, in that you're asking for and expecting an outcome, a positive outcome, by asking something of a very, very powerful force. Optimism is psychosomatic, physiological. It's the total mind-body effect. I've studied the placebo effect most of my life. The word placebo is Latin, which means I shall please. Placebo. And a placebo effect, a placebo is an inert substance, sort of like a sugar type substance, that is given to people who believe they are getting a drug. And a drug is tested by the effectiveness of that drug as opposed to the effectiveness of the placebo. And so people who believe that the placebo is the drug have a certain optimistic outcome. In other words, the mind and body tells an optimist self-expectation is motivation. You're not motivated to do anything unless you expect the outcome to work out for you. Because why would you do something you think is going to fail? You wouldn't put much effort into it. So the idea of optimism is believing and expecting a positive outcome. It is the very definition of faith, because faith is a two-edged sword. You either believe it or you disbelieve it. But there's no such thing as a lack of faith. There's only good faith and bad faith, or optimism and pessimism, optimism and cynicism, and never the two shall meet, because optimists rule the world. They see a better future. They invent things. They're inventive. They're also people who innovate. They take something that exists and make it better. They're always trying to better, rather than criticizing what they don't like or always complaining. Instead of protesting, they're inventing and doing. Instead of sitting in the stands, grandstanding, telling what's wrong on the field, they get on their own playing field and set an example in their own lives, no matter how little or unspecial that might be. So I am a qualified optimist. I'm a realist, though. So do I believe that I will live forever in the body? No. Do I believe that my life will end in the material sense? Yes. Do I believe that I will be well known for who I am many years from now? No, not necessarily. It's not important. So my significance is not based on whether I will live on through history as this person. My significance comes from my own insignificance in being an oboe player in the 15th row of the maestro's orchestra. So I'm not the conductor of my life. I'm part of the maestro's orchestra. So I'm a player in the game of life who's optimistic about my expectation. And my expectation of positive things motivates me to always look for the answer. What's the solution? Well, what can I do? Well, I know what's wrong and it's not good, but what can I do to make it better? In this moment, what should I do? How should I best behave and respond rather than react to what is going on? It's very, very important to be optimistic. It enhances health. It releases positive hormones. It releases the endorphins. It releases energy. It gives you more healing power. Actually, you can visualize, as I've helped Olympic athletes do many times, I've helped people visualize the outcome over and over again to the point where the visualization of the outcome becomes from virtual reality to reality, from practice to opening night, from simply coaching to behaving. And that's why it's so important to be a realistic optimist. Is there evil in the world? Yes. Is there hate in the world? Yes. But I'm not part of it. I don't hate anyone or hate anything or wish any evil on anyone. I don't have a vengeful thought in my mind. I don't want to get even with anyone because I know that success is the only revenge. And revenge is a terrible word. Revenge is the worst use of energy, and thinking and hoping that someone will fail or be put in jail or anything else because you don't like them or what they do or what they say, and you have a hate for them, so you wish the worst for them. You should let the higher power, you should let God take care of that. And in your own life, you should be a realistic optimist. Evil exists, bad exists, problems exist, horror exists, war exists, famine exists, poverty exists, and you need to know it. And you need to see it up front, close and personal, so you don't live in a bubble of thinking that people down there experience this, but you're above all that. That's why I love to travel all over the world, and I've spent most of my life traveling to every part of the world in every type of situation, every religion, every good and bad, impoverished and growth area, the highest and the lowest, the best and the worst, so I can get a realistic take on what 99% of the people on earth are facing. They're just trying to get a roof over their head, or a meal for the day, or food for their children, or sustenance for one more day of life. And that's the reality of it. But the optimists help them. They try to grow things, help them grow, they help them learn, to help them succeed, to make it easier for other people, and to donate their value and give their value into making that better life exist for everything living in life. That's what I mean by being a realistic optimist. I don't look at the world through rose-colored glasses. I look at the world through the glasses that the other people are looking at me through. I practice the greatest of all gifts of emotional intelligence, which is empathy. I try to walk in the other person's shoes or the Indian's moccasins before I pass judgment on the people. Before I judge, I take a good look at my own face in the mirror and ask myself what kind of role model I am for other people. And that's extremely important for me. So definitely I'm an optimist.